Hey everybody, and welcome back to Building Southlake. So today we're going to continue working on the city. So this is actually a live stream that I'm doing. So this is actually on Mixer. If you guys have not heard of Mixer, I would not blame you. It's actually kind of new. I just found out about it the other day, and pretty much it used to be a company named Beam, and now Microsoft bought them out and made it into their streaming service, which is mainly what I'm going to be using from now on instead of Twitch. Because really, I feel like this is actually a lot more set up towards how I want to record and stream. So I think it's a really good addition, so I really want to start using this a little bit more. So I am going to do a small little tour of the city, even though there's not really anybody watching, because I haven't mentioned this to in any other videos or anything like that. Yeah, so again, this is going to be the streaming service I will be using from now on instead of Twitch. I think it's just more set up for how I want to stream, and I think it's a little bit easier. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's more set on audience interaction, which is another really cool thing. So the city is actually pretty big if you guys are new into watching. And on my channel, if you want to find me on Mixer, it's just like Twitch, where you can type in mixer.com, I think, and you will come to the streaming service. If you look for Power Play Gaming, you're going to find my channel. You can subscribe just like any other channel. It's set up the exact same as every other, streaming service out there in the main way, right? So a lot of similar items. So we got all of this here. Yeah, so maybe instead of doing the tour on every 10 parts, we'll actually just do one now. So that actually might be pretty good. So this is actually one of the apartment buildings. This is actually one of the bigger buildings in the city, surprisingly. It's a very big building. And I will be honest, I'm not a big fan of the location of it. And I think it is a little bit too big for its location, but that's fine. And here we have one of the bedrooms. It's a loft area over here. So come down here, pretty much we just have an apartment. This is what I would want my apartment to kind of look like if I had to deal with I could live in a skyscraper, which I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to live in a skyscraper. I think that would just be awesome to do. We fly down over here. I think I'm probably going to turn this maybe into a hospital. Not 100% sure. X100 Snipes, hello. Thank you for joining and watching. Yeah, so over here we have this. So I think, again, I'm going to make this into a hospital. I kind of feel like it looks like one. Over here, parking garage, because of the fact that we have all the way over here, we do have a baseball stadium, which I made a long time ago. And it actually sits right in between two bridges, which is really cool. So if you look right over here, you have this bridge, which is one of my favorite ones I've ever designed. Then you have this one over here, which is more of a modern design, newer style bridge. And the stadium fits perfectly in between both of these bridges, which I think is like perfect. And one of my favorite things is that when you actually come down here, all the way down here, you can actually see the bridge in the background, which I think is just a very cool addition. So I really cannot wait until I can get like the shaders mods and everything onto the console edition. Not sure when those are coming out. They did mention that at E3. If we do take out a map, let's see. There we go. Yeah, so this is actually what the older part of the city looks like. So I'm actually working on a newer city and a older part of the city. So this is actually the older part. So this is pretty much where everything started with the city. The very first building on the city was this big white building here right in front of me. Was the very first building done, and I think it's actually a pretty good design. It's held up to the stand of time. This was before we had any stained glass or anything like that, so that's why it's very plain. And I have made some modern additions. I actually tear down some buildings and add some new ones. For example, right here are actually two new buildings. So before, this was actually just a parking lot, which I made it into a parking garage with buildings on top of it. That way I could add in more space and, whoop, I'm flying. That way we could add in some more buildings and kind of fill up the space a little bit more. And then one of my favorite buildings that I've ever designed is actually right here, this building. I tore down another building that was here and replaced it with this one. And I really like how this one looks. It has just a lot of design put into it. And yeah, it's one of my favorite designs that I've ever made, all made by scratch, not using anybody else's design. This is all me. So it's one of those things to where it also makes it really, really good that I made it, and it makes me feel really good. Over here, we'll start over here. So over here we do have the, okay, my mic was turning off for a second. Over here, we actually... There we go. My headset's being weird. So over here, we actually have a museum. So this is not finished yet. You will see a lot of buildings over here that are not finished, just simply because of the fact that, I mean, if I'm building all this by hand, you got to think this is on Xbox. I cannot use World Edit or anything like that. So this entire city has been done by me, no help at all. So everything has been done by hand. That's why you're going to see a lot of buildings that are not done yet. So just kind of be aware of that. Over here, we actually have some of the beachside resorts and apartments. So over here is going to be a man-made beach, very far from being done. That's going to go all the way down however far we make it. And then my original plan, which this would take a long time to do, would be I want to have a full map. So if we look at the map, we actually might need a new map. Let's get a new map out. So I want to make one full-size map, all water, to basically represent a ocean. So I want a ocean next to the beach, and then over on the other side of the ocean, I would like to have another, what would be the right word for it? Another city, pretty much, like a brand new city. So you'd have pretty much 2 different cities inside one map. And I think that would just be a really cool thing to do. Again, that would just take forever, especially being all done by hand. If I did have World Edit, it would go quite a bit faster. Over here we have the original park, which I'm actually still pretty happy with. It's a very unique design for a park. Usually, you know, you'll see parks with grass. I wanted to make something that you can kind of come to during your lunch and kind of just sit down and relax. That's what this design was all about, was just trying to make it look kind of modern to an extent. I mean, I think I would have done some things a little bit differently, but it's still a pretty good design overall, I think. And then basically just surrounding the park, we have a lot of real buildings with skyscrapers. And if you've ever wanted to make your own city, I will say this. I mean, I've made a lot of cities in my time playing Minecraft. I think I made 3 cities. One of the main things that you really need to focus on are row buildings like these, because when you have skyscrapers and when you have row buildings, your skyscrapers will really stand out more than any other thing. I mean, just for example, if I come over here, these row buildings really make the skyscraper stand out and make it look taller than any other building around it. So it kind of adds in that more realistic aspect. And think about it, in real life, you're not going to have only skyscrapers. Most cities are compounded of mainly row buildings, so just kind of keep that in mind. Try to add as many row buildings as possible, and try to always add in more designs to them, because row buildings are actually one of the hardest things to actually make over and over again, because since they're so small, you kind of find yourself using the same design over and over again. And I always try to come up with new designs that I've never used before. And that's one of the harder things when you're making row buildings, is using the same design again, just in different ways. It's very, very tricky if you ask me. Over here, we have the mall, which is not complete. It's pretty close to being complete on the outside. A couple things I wish I would have done differently on the mall is I wish I would have made it a little bit taller, mainly because of the fact that I feel like it's just it's not that tall. It's not as tall as it should be. And the main reason why I say that is when I come over to the other side of the mall over here, all the way over here, when we look at the Macy's logo, it looks like it's too low to the ground. I mean, if I stand underneath it, it's only like 5 blocks above my head. So I feel like it's not really realistic, so I wish I would have made it a little bit taller. So it's just small things like that I wish I would have done differently. Overall, I think the mall has been a very good design. It actually feels and looks like a real mall, because you have stores, you have a parking garage kind of attached to the mall. I like the front entrance area over here. So you'd walk up the stairs and you'd be confronted by kind of the I forgot what I was actually gonna do. I think up here was going to be the cafeteria where you have all the stores or restaurants and stuff, and then you'd walk down below and have all of your stores and everything that you would get to. Again, that's all just hypothetical. I don't really do interiors. You will also see a lot of that on these buildings. I think only like 1 or 2 buildings have interiors. That's about it. Yeah, so this is pretty much the mall. I did kind of do interior to the lobby over here. So you would walk in, and this would be your elevators that would take you down into the mall itself. Just kind of adding about, you know, worrying about that small stuff, which is adding a lot of detail. If we fly over here to the other side, we have the nerd store. Let's see, what else do we have? We have, yeah, pretty much just a lot of other stores. Eventually, the plan will be I want to have a big parking lot here, and then on the other side of the parking lot, what I'm going to do is have a sport complex. So you're going to have soccer fields, baseball fields, tennis courts, you know, a lot of stuff like that for where you could take your kids to games and theoretically just stuff like that. Just adding a lot of small stuff. Over here we have some of the newer buildings. So one of the things I've been trying to incorporate is usually in a city there's room for progression, and usually it's more vertically than horizontally. So what I'm trying to do is when I do have row buildings and smaller buildings that are only like 4 stories tall, I like to try to incorporate it or make it look like you're adding more vertically, so it looks like the city's still under progression. So I actually did have one fully complete thing over here. So one fully complete apartment. So you walk in here, you got your bedroom, you have your balcony, so you'd overlook the mall and everything like that, right next to the highway. And over here, in here, we have the TV. It's a pretty small apartment. It's only a 1 bedroom, but I think it's pretty nicely laid out. So you would actually have 2 windows on each side, overlooking those buildings, which are still some of my favorite buildings. Over here, you would see a lot of the other buildings from the bathroom. Again, not everything is going to be complete. I'm not really great at interior, so I don't really focus on it. Then out here is where you would come off your elevator and into your building. And then this will just take you all the way down. It's a nice little feature there. So now when we actually get into the main and newer part of the city, which I'm currently working on, you'll see a lot more of the buildings have more design, more realistic aspects. The roads look a little bit bigger and nicer. Sidewalks are a little bit different as well. So this is definitely the newer part of the city, and not everything's going to be complete over here. Again, just kind of remember that. So these buildings are brand new pretty much. So this one's the newest, the one on the right, and I actually like it. It's very interesting design. It actually looks kind of modern, but kind of older at the same time. So I really like how it looks there. Just kind of office buildings and stuff like that. Row buildings, again, very, very important. And one of the other things I'm trying to do with this side of the city is trying to make it look like you have some history to the city, which is a very important thing. So by doing that, I'm going to add in buildings that look like they're kind of run down. Because in any city, you're going to have buildings that look like they're run down because they've just been there for a while. You really want to try to add history to your city. So by adding buildings that look run down, you're kind of doing that theoretically, right? Because you have theoretically a building that has been there for a long time, even though it's kind of brand new. One of the newer additions is this building right here, which is going to be, I'm not sure if it's going to be an apartment building or if it's going to be, I'm not really sure what it's going to be. If it's going to be an apartment building or if it's going to be an office building. Not really sure yet as we go, just trying to figure all that stuff out. And all that stuff will come as we actually get to the interior, which will not be for a very long time. Yeah, it's kind of more office buildings. This road here is one of the biggest roads, if not the biggest road in the city itself, in the entire city. It's just very, very big. I mean, if we come underneath here, we have a subway train right here. So this is where the station would be. Not complete yet. I'm not sure if I need to make it bigger. I'm not sure what kind of design I want to go for yet. There's still a lot of stuff to be figured out here. You can see, you can't see what one full train would look like. So it would look like this. You would actually have room to walk around in it. Where could we get in? Right over here. So you would actually have room to walk around. I want to make it feel like a life-size train that you could be on. I didn't want to make a train that you could barely walk in. I wanted to, again, make it kind of feel more realistic. So that meant making a bigger train, which means bigger tracks. And yeah, just trying to add more realistic things to the city. And I'm actually really liking the design of it and how it looked overall. So eventually, it's going to come all the way down here, which you can kind of see the starts of it now. So it's going to come down. And it's eventually going to go underground, so it's going to split in between the road here. And you'll see that here any second. Here we go. So it's going to come down. It's working its way down here, and it's going to go underground in this spot. And eventually it's going to loop around, and it's going to meet up with this underground station I made over here. Again, there's a lot of stuff to be planned ahead in when you're making a city. And this is just part of it, is adding small stuff here and there. That way you kind of know where you're going to go in the future, even though if you're not fully ready to be there yet. So it's really just doing a lot of planning ahead. So you would actually have a station here. So if we actually come from the street level, one of the newer areas of downtown as well, looks very, very nice if you ask me. So you'd actually walk down here into the subway station. So you'd walk in the pressure plate, it would open up. Then down here, what we have is a station 1 going more horizontally, and we come down again. And this one's going more vertically, and we have 2 different. So this is kind of like the main station. The upstairs one is kind of more of a not a main station. I'm not really sure what else you would call it, a secondary station. But this is going to be the main one. Obviously a lot bigger. I mean, if you look at just the size of the train, it's a very, very big train here. So just kind of be aware of that. Let's see. That's pretty much it for that train station. Just trying to get everything planned out. One of the most complete areas of the newer downtown area is actually right here. And why I say that is all the buildings are pretty much complete on the exterior. Obviously, I could add windows here and there, but for the most part, it's all complete. And one of the main things I'm trying to focus on is in this newer downtown area, I want to add in more, what would you call these? Just like air conditioner units on top of the buildings, because those actually make your building look more realistic and feel like they're more complete. So I'm definitely adding more of these. And if you look right here, you can see every single building has these. It's pretty much all complete over here. This entire block is complete. And the reason why I really like this block that I made is kind of what I talked about earlier. Everything's at different heights. So when I come all the way over here, we can see is everything's at a different height. Not one building is at the same height as the other. They might be close in some areas, but what it really does is it makes it look more realistic in that aspect, because in real life, not every building is going to be the exact same height. So really, when you add height differences in between all of your buildings, it can make your city, one, look bigger and just more realistic in general. So, and one of the other things that's pretty realistic is always having areas behind or in between your buildings. So like, for example, back here, I have a small little alleyway with some parking spots for the employees or residents of these areas. So just small stuff like that can make a big difference. Let's see. Over here, just another continuation of that block that we were just talking about. One of my other favorite buildings is this one right here. Just very unique design, so I'm pretty happy with that one. Let's see. Over here, you will see a lot more incomplete buildings because these buildings do take time. Oh, excuse me. So let's see. Right here is actually the tallest building on the server. So this is actually the Madrina's building. So a while ago, and I'm still friends with them. Don't want to bring that point across. But a while ago, I told Madrina's, a coffee company that I work with on a regular basis, that I would make them a building in the city. And I told them I was going to make it the tallest building, and I did not disappoint. This building is only like 3 blocks away from the height limit, I believe. Let me see if we just take out any building or any building block. Let's see. So starting from here. So 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks away from the height limit. So it is a very, very tall building with a actual realistic design. It doesn't feel too big either. That's one of the things I feel like a lot of people mess up on when it comes to cities is, okay, I want to make the tallest building on my city, and they make it too overboard. And I feel like I actually did a really good job with the base of this building, because with a tall building like this, you need to have a good base to your building to kind of make it feel realistic, like it's supporting all that weight up above it. And the base of this building is absolutely massive. I've talked about maybe adding in a parking garage here that would come all the way over and connect. That's pretty much like what this building is, another one of my favorite designs, because it has a parking garage built into it, and up above it, you have the actual office building itself. So just adding small stuff like that here and there really makes a big difference in how your city will actually look. Let's see. Over here, we have the Microsoft building. So one of the other things that making a city feel more realistic is adding buildings that actually have names to them, because when you do that, it kind of feels more realistic as well. You kind of feel like you actually have real companies in your city, you know, if that makes any sense. So that's one of the other main things here. So Microsoft, you would come down. This building is very, very big as well. I mean, if you just take a look at all of it, it's a very tall building, very wide building. Down here, we have the Microsoft logo with all their colors, with grass surrounding it, trying to make it look nice and pretty. Just like Microsoft, I would imagine they would do something like that or similar too. Over on the sides, I'm not sure how wide I want to make the building yet. That's still kind of under debate, and if I want to keep doing the same design, if I want to change it up a little bit. So there's really a lot of stuff to be considered there. Over here, we have another small little park area, which I'm pretty happy with. It's very narrow. It's more just kind of a walking path that you would walk down with a nice little design in the walkway. Just apartment buildings surrounding it, row buildings right here. An under construction building, which is actually a very cool design. So I'm actually really happy with how this design turned out when it came to being under construction. I mean, so if I come down here, it physically looks like it is under construction. It feels like it's under progress. And I want to add more buildings like this into my city, especially in the newer parts, because adding something like this really does make your city feel like it's still under construction, it's still being made. So just adding small stuff like this just adds quite a bit of detail, and even down to just the lobby of this building. I mean, when I come into here, what it shows is that I have all this concrete in here ready to be used. Same thing with all this stuff. It's all tied down, just ready to be used. The floor is not complete. And when we actually go up, all the way over here, we actually see that we have scaffolding, just a lot of small stuff like that, and we can keep going up, and you'll see different progressions of the building being built. So right here is kind of like the steel bars you would see in a building. Obviously, we don't have steel bars in Minecraft, so I kind of had to improvise here. So this was the best thing I could do. So when I did that, it's pretty much kind of acting like replacing, what's the best way to word it? I don't know how to really describe it. So pretty much when I put this piece of concrete down, it's going to kind of replace the steel bar here and kind of make it look like it's more complete. That's kind of the whole aspect of it. We do have the elevator shafts, which are all complete. Those are some of the main things that are always done first in the building. So it's just really the small details like that. Adding cranes. If you do want a tutorial on how to make these cranes, I have made one. And I'm actually pretty happy with how these cranes look. They're a very modern design, but also very realistic in my opinion. And you can actually climb up into them. So if I come over here, I can actually climb into it and see how it looks. So again, just very, very cool. And I can actually climb up onto the actual crane part itself. So I can come all the way up here. So again, just adding that small little detail can make a big difference in how your city really comes about. I think that's pretty much it for the downtown tour, just for everything. So I'm actually going to probably hop over to Battlefield 1 and do some streaming on that game. But I did want to get a stream out for you guys on this city. You can kind of expect more stuff like this, quite a bit more, if not every week, because with how this interface is set up on Mixer, it's very easy to stream. So kind of figured, hey, why not do it? I do play a lot of Xbox. Why not just do more streaming as I play, right? I mean, this makes sense. So yeah, this is what the newer downtown area looks like. Not too complete yet, obviously, compared to the older downtown, but we will get there. Again, it's all made by hand, all made by me alone. Nobody has been helping me. So obviously a lot of the stuff will take time, but I'm pretty sure and I'm pretty happy with just how much I've gotten done just over the past year and a half or so. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. It is greatly appreciated. I will see you guys over on Battlefield if you want to come watch my stream over there. And yeah,